appointment next Wednesday. It's a whole thing. Like, oh my God, it's going crazy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 77 of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nunez, joined as always by Mark, Josh, and Austin. They're rubbing their hands together. We're doing the thing. We're talking about the sports as per usual. Right off the top, before we get started, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. And then here on the YouTube channel, make sure to like the video, comment on the video if you feel like having a comment. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell as well. And then, yeah. What's the other one? Is there another thing to do? Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. That's it.
I think
right?
we got it. We respond to comments too, Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Jesse from.
Shout out Jesse.
I hope I don't fuck it up. Is Jesse from South Africa, right?
I believe so. Or New Zealand
maybe.
or someone.
I do not remember where Jesse was from.
Jesse, if you're watching this episode, let us know in the comments where you're from. We haven't forgotten about you, and we Mark and I will be discussing whether or not we'll be doing the thing this year. Which, now that I was thinking about it, that thing, Oscar Sunday, is the same day as Selection Sunday. So we'll roll right from the selection show into the Oscar ceremony.
Ooh,
basically.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyways, off the top, we're going to be talking a little bit of Super Bowl, general stuff. I was telling these guys beforehand, like, I don't know about these guys. I don't have anything new or interesting to say about the Super Bowl. It's the most watched sporting event of the year, right? And if you want to hear smart people break down the game, go listen to smart people break down the game. That's not what you're getting out of me. All right. I'll talk about the game a little bit. I'll talk about my feelings in particular on the end of the game as well. And then they'll kind of move on because, like, I don't have anything new and fun to talk about in regards to it. I don't know about these guys. I know personally, like I said, if you want really good breakdowns, this probably isn't the place for like the best breakdown of the Super Bowl. If I'm keeping it a buck with you. But anyways, so we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and then we're gonna talk about the World Baseball Classic, which is something that brings me so much joy as a baseball fan. It starts up in a few weeks here all over the world. And we'll be running through each pool, quickly touching on each team that's playing in the World Baseball Classic, players of note on every roster, and then we'll be hitting the bigger topics of some of the bigger teams as we go along. But first, a couple things off the top. We didn't end up extending it into the postseason, so I do want to say congratulations to Mark for winning the 2022 FanDuel contest season thing that we did. Mark came in first place with 46 points. Austin came in second with 42 points. And then Josh and I tied for third with 36 points. So Mark won both of the things that you're able to win in terms of Hot Stove.
Banner year for the Mark.
Actually, that's a lie. He didn't win the Fantasy Baseball League. So that's
true. I did not.
That would have been Mike Schrader.
Friend of the show.
Yeah. Won the Fantasy Baseball League last year. So
Josh, do you have a question?
Yeah.
No, I was trying to get it right into the corner.
Are you trying to get a fist bump?
No. Yeah, I was trying to go, woo, but I was trying to get it right. There it is. Right in the sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'll stop.
Yeah, I think your squares might be a little different than what I'm looking at because that made no sense.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So. The thing. All right. So a couple things in terms of upcoming content, right? We usually like to keep you people keyed in to what we're doing in the future. So, like I said, tonight we're doing the Super Bowl and World Baseball Classic. Next week, I haven't even told these guys yet about it, but next week I want to do a bit of a deep dive into the new rules coming to Major League Baseball this year. There are 4 major rules to talk about. And I think to varying degrees, spoiler, I don't really think many of them matter all that much. And the ones that do matter make a material improvement on the sport in general. But that's beside the point. We'll kind of get into that next week. I thought that would be an interesting topic with baseball starting up next Friday, the 25th of February, the 24th of February. Next Friday is the official start of spring training. So we'll be kicking into a little bit of baseball mood here.
Pitchers and catchers have already reported.
That's correct. Pitchers and catchers have already reported. Garrett Cole is throwing baseballs. Jacob deGrom is already hurt. Corbin Burns hates the Brewers. It's baseball, baby.
Steven Strasburg had a setback.
Yeah, Steven Strasburg had a setback. Frankie Montas, the day pitchers and catchers report, is out for the season. Baseball is back, baby. That's
so
what we.
bad.
Classic athlete waiting until the last minute to have a surgery that he's dealt with since last September.
Here's the thing. If that's the case, the Yankees training facility needs to be bombed. All right, I'll be honest with you because they've done it before. They've done it before with players on this stupid team. Anyways, I'm not doing that right now. Fast forward a little bit. We'll kind of plan out episodes as we go, but I know for a fact, be on the lookout. Third week of March, we'll be doing our NCAA selection show. We were just talking about Selection Sundays, March 12th. So that upcoming week, in the few days between that and the start of the tournament, so somewhere those few days following, we'll be putting that episode out. Mark and I believe, as far as I know, we're planning on doing our Oscars live stream again this year.
Love to. Yeah,
that was the other thing we were referring to, and had a good time last year. Shout out to Jesse.
Shout out Jesse.
Episode. So we would like to do that again. That's March 12th. So mark your calendars for that. Should be a fun night at the movies. I'm very excited about the Oscars this year. The lineup in general, specifically in Best Picture, is honestly pretty bitchin'. Not gonna lie. Like this is a damn good Best Picture field this year. So I'm excited.
Top Gun
for that. Now, before we get into content proper,
Top Gun.
I do want to make a little bit of an announcement for an episode of the podcast that we're doing in March. So it'll be the week before Selection Sunday. So March 7th, 8th, that area, right? Like that week of March, the first full week of March. We are going to be doing a little bit of hot stove madness, is what I'll call it, because we're nothing if not unoriginal on this show. And in keeping of the tune of the other things we like to do here, we like to talk about sports. We like to drink some beers. We like, or as I call it, suds. I've started calling beers suds as of late, and I think it's really funny. So we're going to be consuming some suds as well. But we also like to watch movies, and that's something that we do here sometimes. So I thought it would be fun for us to do a bit of a movie tournament live on air, live on tape delay. You get it. That's how recording stuff works. Where each of us, the four of us, will be supplying 4 movies, which we will we'll discuss in a moment. We'll be unveiling our picks for Hot Stove Madness this year. I told these guys very specifically that I wanted there to be no theme, no restrictions. Give me something good. Give me something bad. Give me something old. Give me something new. I don't care. All right. Just
random
movies. Give me 4 movies, because in my head, a conversation and a battle between Schindler's List and Shrek was really funny to me. That's where this started, right? I was like, what if I had to choose between the two? And the funny part is that I'm choosing Shrek. So like the movie about the silly ogre and the donkey beats the heart-wrenching drama about the Holocaust. Like that was funny in my head.
What that's about?
When I thought about it.
I thought it was like the bucket list.
So we're just gonna be doing given picks. Each of us have brought to the table 4 movies. That's why we're announcing it now, so we have the time to actually watch them and not fuck it up like I did with the Halloween special this year. All right, that was my fault. I didn't watch any of the movies. All right, I came up with a thing and I didn't watch them. Okay,
I watched some of them and they all sucked.
I'm gonna tell you, yeah. Well, no, not true.
No,
one is one of Austin's must shows. Yeah, Mad God.
Mad God was elite.
It's his new. I'm just fucking with you, basically. I mean, he asked everyone. You seen this one?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus
Dude,
Christ.
I'm trying to get people to watch it, bro. It's great.
Yeah.
But
well,
we're gonna do it this time. I'm actually gonna follow through with the promise that I make on the show, which is something very rare. So, without further ado, would anybody like to go first and give their picks for Hot Stove Madness?
You know what? I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start with probably the best movie that I've selected. The 2000s. Are we previewing? We're just saying them. I got to do a spiel.
Oh, give us a little preview.
Yeah,
give us a little shakedown. Yeah.
The 2000s, psychological thriller. That's a little bit of a trend here. I got a couple of those. Memento. Okay. Starring Guy Pearce, basically, from what it sounds like. Again, never seen it. I've never seen any of the movies I'm suggesting. What it sounds like, dude's wife dies. He's got amnesia. It's kind of a 51st dates thing going on. And he's got to recollect what's going on with Ralphie from The Sopranos and that other hot chick back in the day. And
my favorite part is that Josh doesn't know the twist about Memento because he's never seen it.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, my boss recommended. He's like, you got to watch it a couple times. I'm like, so it's like a Fight Club thing. I'm assuming that someone's lying to him as he's going through with the days. My guess is Ralphie. He's a rat. That's all I know.
Taking guesses on a movie you've never seen.
Just a bold guess. Who's to say? Next one, I'll go with. I heard this movie is very, very. It's when Pacino really started going out of his comfort zone a little bit. Okay, the 1980 film Cruising, also psychological thriller. A serial killer is rampaging through the gay nightclubs in New York City, and who else but Al Pacino gets sent undercover to find out who it is, and does gay stuff in the movie.
That sounds
so
awesome.
Let's do it. I mean, I showed the trailer to Emily today. We're watching it, and immediately it just shows him and another dude. She goes, "They're gonna fuck," and I looked at her and I kind of smiled, and she goes, "No, they don't fuck," and I go, "No, no." And then later on, it's like sex, and she's like, "They fuck." I'm like, "They're fucking. They're fucking." So yeah, they're gay. That's cool. And then next. I'm gonna keep it because Nunez hasn't seen it. It's supposed to be good too, and it's Bill Murray. I'll do Rushmore. Rushmore, Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, Wes Anderson film. Nunez is, was talking about it. Seems good. I liked it. Watched the trailer. He's banging a teacher, everyone's dream, and it's acceptable if it's a girl teacher now. So it's fine. It's good to talk about. It's fun movie. And finally, there were two 1980s dummies that I was debating between. And the other one really had no plot at all. But this one kind of does. The 1984 classic starring 1982 Playmate of the Year Shannon Tweed, Hot Dog, ... the movie.
What?
What?
That's right, boys. We got Hot Dog. Wait for it. The movie. That's right. It's a skiing movie, kind of, sort of, maybe.
Oh, an
I don't
80s
know.
ski movie. Hell
Dude,
yeah.
it looks. I believe if it was
a
like a New York
porno?
Times. No, the other one actually is a sex comedy. Like the other one's basically a porno. The other one was called Spring Break from 1983. And it's basically actually a porn. Like I watched the trailer and it was like that's like softcore basically. It's crazy. So that's why I didn't do this. This one looks hilarious. We watched it, and if like you got like a rating at the end of it, Emily was like, "Wow, that's just so bad. It's bad." That's what she like. It's not like it's so bad it's funny. It's just bad from the trailer. So really looking forward to watching this one. Sounds like a doozy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh my
All right,
God.
Austin.
Yeah, nobody is in that market.
Yeah,
I've never heard of this movie before.
That's right, boys. A Mike Boheme classic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Austin, why don't you give us your picks for Hot Stove Madness next?
I didn't. I don't know. I just picked 4 movies I kind of wanted to watch.
Okay.
So this was
Perfectly
my
fine.
this was my excuse to watch them. 2 of which I actually have seen before, but both. Honestly, I think I might have watched one with one of you guys, but I don't remember anymore. I'm too old, no memory. One is Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams, just a classic. Got nothing to say about most of my movies because I can't remember half of any of it. My next one is Beautiful Boy. I asked Mark if he saw that one.
Which one? Because there's 2 movies, one from 2010, one from 2017 called Beautiful Boy. And I've seen one of them, but not the other.
2017-18, the one with Steve Carell, I believe.
Okay, that's the one I've seen.
Okay. That's the one I'm going for.
2018, yeah.
That one's about addiction and all. I don't know what the
Timothy
first one was
Chalamet.
about, but my third one is called Come and See It, or Come and See It, something like that. Basically,
don't even know
it's about a kid in. Well, IMDb says Come and See, but like the official movie trailer says Come and See It. It's a movie from the Soviet Union about a kid. It's about a kid who basically picked up a rifle and went to war. And it's basically, I don't want to say first person, but like perspective of essentially a child fighting in a war and seeing all the nasty stuff.
How did you find a Soviet movie from 1985?
I'm elite. And then the last one is, I feel like you guys have seen this one, Stalker. This one's like I don't want to say a psychological thriller. I don't even know what to call it, honestly. I believe I've seen it. It's basically about some zone or some region of it might be Russia. I can't really.
Yeah, this is another
Soviet film.
Yeah,
it's another Soviet
Andrei
film.
Tarkovsky. Yes.
Yeah.
Soviet.
There's like a zone in Russia where like your dreams can come true, and you have to go on this giant quest, and the government tries to keep you out of the area. It's a very weird film, interesting film. Yeah, that's all I got for you. I don't know how else to describe it.
These are certainly some interesting selections. I'll give you that. I'm excited. Mark.
Yeah, when you get Come and See It about a kid dying at war against freaking
spoilers.
I don't know. I don't even know the movie against Hot Dog the movie.
Yeah.
Mark, why don't you go next? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still trying to figure out my last pick. I've got a couple movies that I'm deciding between.
I'm also in between a couple. Okay, so I'll just go with the ones that I know for sure. First, I want to say it's from 1984. I will look this up real quick. 1983. From 1983, a classic, The Big Chill. This is a group of friends from college getting together for one of their friends' funerals, and they just spend the weekend together in a house. Very simple premise, but and all-star cat Tom Berenger, Jeff Goldblum, Glenn Close. I'm forgetting someone. Who's the other guy? Yeah, William Hurt. Yes, thank you. William Hurt, just awesome cast. Lawrence Kasdan directed. Really, really good vibes movie from the 80s that I watch like way too often. It's really interesting look at just relationships and things of that nature. Another one from 1993. This is a Stephen King adaptation that really doesn't get a lot of press. This is Needful Things. Have any of you heard of this movie?
I have not.
Ed Harris, Max von Sydow, Amanda Plummer. It's about a guy that opens a store in a small town, and the store owner happens to be the devil, played by Max von Sydow. Very interesting. It's for my dad, who's seen about 18 movies. This is like one of his favorites. He's like, yeah, that Max von Sydow is the devil. He's cool. Like
that guy's got
it. Next, I'm going to go with my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I wasn't sure if Josh was going to stick with Rushmore, so I wanted to get a Wes Anderson movie in there. The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, or Zissou, however you pronounce it. 2004. Say Dissou. It's just a fun one. You know, Bill Murray, submarines, things of that nature. I've always really liked this movie.
Owen and Luke Wilson, I imagine.
Owen Wilson, yes. It's got, you know, Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe. Oh. It's got the Wes Anderson regulars, you know, the ones that are in all of his movies. Sure. They're all in there. And
The Life Aquatic, fun fact, was playing at a bar while I was there like a month ago. It was a great time. On one TV, there was The Life Aquatic, and on the other TV was Freaks and Geeks. And then the following time that I went there, on one TV was New Japan Wrestling, and on the other TV was Black Dynamite, which is a movie that I fucking love.
Hell yes.
That's sick. And
shout out to Swilberger in Rochester.
And I've decided my last one. I'm going to go with a movie I actually haven't seen, but I love this director, and he also wrote it. It's The Squid and the Whale.
Oh yes, Noah Baumbach.
Directed and written by Noah Baumbach. That's not what I'm writing in the parentheses. It's what year is it from? 2005.
2005.
Yeah. I guess from what I've heard, very personal story, very, grounded family story about a divorce and how a child goes through that. So I think that
Noah
could be
Baumbach
really,
type beat.
yeah, very much a Noah Baumbach movie. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen that one, and I've been meaning to watch it. So that's what I'm going to go with there.
All right. Well, I decided to not change anything in the first place. The one movie I didn't include that I really wanted to was District 9. Partially because I
love District 9.
I haven't seen District 9 in forever, and I
District 8 was good.
District 8 was good. District 9 was fantastic, but I didn't end up picking it.
Waiting until we get that District 10.
Yeah.
Dude,
No, that was a thing that was going to happen. There was going to be a
Yeah.
District 10. It just hasn't come out.
Yeah, it'll never happen.
Yeah,
I bet Jennifer
but I
Lawrence is going to
decided-
be in District 12.
I decided not to pick District 9. I do have 4 other movies though that I'm very excited to share. So we'll start. Let's start lighthearted, right? Like I got some dark shit on here. Let's start lighthearted. We'll start 2014. One of my favorite comfort movies that I've seen plenty of times. It is Chef, starring Jon Favreau and John Leguizamo.
Hell yeah.
It's a I don't know how many of you have seen it. It's a movie about Jon Favreau going across the country and cooking Cubanos to bond with his child.
The grilled cheese, Nunez. The grilled cheese.
It is one of, like I said, one of my favorite comfort movies. And for someone like myself who sees food as a true love language, a true art like that, it's insanely comforting to watch like that amount of love and care being put into food in a movie, and it's fantastic. It's great. I love the movie.
Very interesting allegory, by the way, too. This has never been confirmed by Jon Favreau, but the theory is that it's all about the production of Iron Man 2.
Interesting.
Like the very similar story beats go on in the movie Chef as the production of Iron Man 2, which was a pain in the ass for Jon Favreau and the reason why he didn't direct Iron Man 3.
Interesting. Very interesting. Next up for me, we're gonna veer off into a little bit of kookiness, a little bit of 80s sci-fi, some action, right? John Carpenter's They Live, 1988.
I almost put this on mine.
Starring Kurt Russell. Or I'm sorry, not Kurt Russell. My bad.
No, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Rowdy Roddy Piper. My apologies. Rowdy Roddy Piper and Keith David.
I came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. I was talking about this movie with my dad the other day.
Sorry, I got it mixed up with Escape from New York. Yeah. My bad. But yeah, They Live. I just bought it recently on a really cool steelbook.
That thing's awesome.
Been meaning to pop that guy in. I'll go grab it. Give me 1 second.
You guys talking about the Maniac?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I watched Josh. I watched that episode yesterday.
Did you? Yeah, fucking Always Sunny Mark is named the Maniac. Yeah.
Did he just call you the N-word?
We were just gonna brush over that.
He definitely
This is the They Live steelbook that I bought a few weeks ago. So it's an excuse for me to crack this guy open and get it on real high definition television. But yeah, Rowdy Piper, Keith David, they fight aliens who are trying to take over the world. And that's They Live.
Piper's the main character.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Hell
he's
yes.
the lead actor.
He was popping. 88. He was just near the end of the wrestling. Oh my god, he's hot.
Yeah. So next, we're gonna jump into one of the best directors ever of direct. I'll say one of the best directors to ever direct a thriller. Right? Someone who bleeds authenticity in that kind of a work, and that is 2004's Collateral, directed by Michael Mann, starring Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. One of my favorite contained thrillers of all time. Loosely, Jamie Foxx is a cab driver. He gets mixed up with Tom Cruise, who's a bad dude, and they go around the city for a night doing bad dude shit. And it is excellent. It is one of those movies that in 2004 was filmed in with HD cameras, I believe, at the time. So the look of the nightlife, and I believe the movie takes place in LA. The look of the nightlife in the movie is unbelievable. Michael Mann's cinematography on his fucking game. Whoever his cinematographer was for that movie put their ass in that thing. And the classic Michael Mann like shaky cam realism beat is still in there. It's a great movie. I haven't watched it in a very long time, and I'm excited to revisit it for this thing.
Isn't Michael Mann working on something now? Doesn't he have something?
Michael Mann just released a novel.
Well, yeah, I know he released Heat 2, but
yeah, I don't know if he has any movies.
Heat 2?
Yeah, the sequel to his Heat to Heat.
The De Niro film?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also written and
almost
directed
one
by
of my
Michael Mann.
picks.
Oh yeah, he's got a biopic of Enzo Ferrari coming out starring Adam Driver.
All right, I'm in. That's
Jack O'Connell, Shailene Woodley, Pat Dempsey. Oh, what a cast!
Look at that there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm in. That sounds great. And then finally, we're gonna fast back forward to 2014. The 2014 Oscar race. A man who kind of blitzed himself in there after kind of disappearing for a while. That would be Bennett Miller with his movie Foxcatcher from that year, starring Steve Carell, Mark Ruffalo, and Channing Tatum, about John DuPont and the Foxcatcher wrestling team. If you don't know the story, it is a true story, and I won't say any more about it. But I believe it was Bennett Miller's first writing turn since Capote, so it was like a decade.
Yeah.
At that point, and he kind of just popped back up with a very, very intense thriller. And it's fantastic. It is worth watching, and I'm excited to.
Did he also direct Moneyball? He did, right?
Yes. Yeah. I believe so. Sorry.
Which it was written by Sorkin. He didn't write it, but but
it was his first. It was his first writer. It was his first writing credit since Capote. He directed Moneyball. Yes. Okay. But yeah, those are my picks.
I'm pumped
with those. We got the list.
I'm very excited. Thank God I have seen a couple, because picking 4 that you've never seen really sets you up to watch 16 fucking movies, which is a lot. So I'm glad I've seen a couple of your guys.
Yeah, it's a lot to catch up. I'm excited to watch Hot Dog the movie.
Dude, Hot Dog the movie. I like a longer pause. Hot Dog the movie. I think that it should be like a group setting. If we,
I was gonna say, I think we should.
It's got to be
available on a streaming service.
Would have been good to look up. I highly doubt it. Hot Dog.
If it is, then we can probably do a teleparty thing for it.
The movie.
There's no way it's available.
It doesn't look like it is. Doesn't look like it is. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it looks like Hot Dog the movie's on Prime Video.
Oh,
I'll buy it. I'll pay it.
I have.
My dad will gladly allow. Oh wait, just normal Prime, not like have to buy.
I think so. I don't know. Let me check my app here. Maybe Google's lying to me, man.
Pops will buy it. It's one of he's been telling me to watch this movie forever.
I mean, they're charging for Hot Dog the movie out here.
I mean, hey, Shannon Swede's got to get her freaking royalties, or Tweed, sorry.
Yeah, it's on Prime Video.
This video is currently unavailable.
Oh shit!
Boo!
It's got to be on 1, 2, 3 movies or something.
It has 4.5 stars.
We'll find it
on
somewhere.
Freaking
right? We'll figure it out.
Amazon Prime, by the way.
86% of viewers like the movie on Google.
Yeah, I'm telling you, people love the movie.
Those numbers are all fake. You could look at like the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Dude, that movie was a banger. What do you mean?
Austin's one of the 6 people who's seen the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
He's actually created 1,000 different accounts and liked it 1,000 times. Yeah. What are you talking about?
All right, so those are our picks. Those are our 16 movies. I'm excited. I'm excited to get it cracking, and it'll be fun when we do this episode. Like I said, I can't wait for Foxcatcher versus Hot Dog the movie in round 1. Like, I'm excited for that. I see it happening. And that's very funny to me. All right. So before we touch on the Super Bowl a little bit, I do have some trivia. First trivia question of 2023 on the hot start. I'll only give you one. I got a few, but I'll only give you one right now. The other ones can wait. We'll trickle in, right? So Austin Eckler, Chargers running back, was the number 1 running back in fantasy football in 2022. I don't have his exact numbers. Who cares, right? He was the number 1 running back. What did you say?
I said, just trust us. He was.
Yeah, I know for certain he was the number 1 running back in 2022. He was 27 this past year. It's an age in which running backs don't really they start to I'm trying to type while talking. This is a terrible idea. It's an age where running backs start to dip in terms of physical tools and in production. So Austin Eckler was the first running back age 27 or older in over a decade to finish number 1 at running back. I would like you to give me the name of the last running back who finished number 1 in fantasy at the age of 27 or older.
LT.
Josh, you're correct. That is correct. LaDainian Tomlinson in
put me on the board.
Second.
How old was DeMarco Murray's?
Well, he was young. 2014, he got drafted.
Yeah.
I mean, he was young. He was maybe 2 years in the league, not even. Yeah, I mean.
LaDainian Tomlinson, by the way, was the number 1 running back in 2006 when he had his 28 touchdown season. He was 27 that year. So that was his age 27 season. He also followed it up, by the way, by leading the league in rushing and touchdowns in his age 28 season as well. So,
Actually, Austin, he was 26. He came in the league in 2011. So
I was because the Eagles got him the year after because he was off his rookie deal.
Yeah, he was awful in Philadelphia.
Then he went back to having a good season in Tennessee, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Tennessee had almost 1,300 yards.
Yeah, he's the one that spelled Derrick Henry for a while. Remember Derrick Henry got drafted and he had to play behind DeMarco Murray?
2017, yeah. Kind of wild.
All right, so Josh, congrats on getting the first trivia point of 2023.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Yeah. All right, that's it for that. Like I said, I got a couple more, but those can wait. They're evergreen stats. We can just plug them whenever I feel like it. So before we get into the World Baseball Classic, Super Bowl happened this past weekend, and I don't know about you guys. I'll start by saying this in that I thought the game was fantastic. It was in many ways, offensively speaking, in particular, the game was just about as good as football gets. Whether you talk about the offensive line play by both teams, which was outstanding. Where you talk about how well Jalen Hurts played and particularly how well he threw the ball. That was the best possible time for Jalen Hurts to play the best game of his football life. And he was making tight window throws, specifically the one to Goddard, the one I'm talking about, where he was in bounds. He wasn't kind of really in bounds, but they ruled it in bounds. They couldn't overturn it, blah, blah, blah. That throw is one of the best throws you will see. Period in football. Like you can put that on a thing that is easy, like throw of the year candidate type stuff right there. And the resiliency of the Chiefs in particular, Pat Mahomes playing on that injured ankle that he re-aggravated in the first half. I don't give a shit how many steroids they shot him up with. Still had to go out there and play on the thing. And he played fantastic in the second half. They did the thing that the Chiefs have been doing all season, right? Like I saw somebody talking about their offense and they referred to it as a heater that the Chiefs have been on. And I was like, that's an interesting way to refer to the team that has been the most efficient in football, according to every metric from every situation in every possible way from the start of the season all the way through to the Super Bowl. Yeah, a heater, if that's what, if that's what you want to call it.
They're on one hell of a hot streak, Nunez.
The Chiefs did, generally speaking, the way the Chiefs played and adjusted in the second half in particular is not surprising. Like this is what they've done all year. Like I said, they've been the best offense in football, short, intermediate, deep, inside, outside, running the ball. Their screen game was fantastic all season long. Like it's kind of inevitable. It's one of the that happening was kind of inevitable, right? And the second half in particular was a play calling masterpiece for all intents and purposes by Andy Reid, right? Now, I will say I've had a lot of time. I mean, we've all had a lot of time, right? This is Thursday after the Super Bowl. I've had quite a bit of time to think about, in particular, the second half and obviously how the game ended, which caused, I guess, a minor hubbub on the internet after the game. And I didn't. So obviously, I'm talking about the holding call on James Bradbury, right? And I kind of just feel I'm stealing this line from Dominique Foxworth, who had mentioned it a few times on various programs on Monday, right? The day after the Super Bowl. Like, generally speaking, and I appreciate James Bradbury for just like facing the firing squad. like he could have just been an asshole about it and be like, oh, you saw the game. You tell me what happened. And like now that we've seen the All 22 film as well, it's funny that like the screenshot that was originally shared on Twitter isn't even the moment where he committed the most egregious hold on that play. Like when Juju breaks on that route, you can clearly see him grab on the jersey and pull it. It is clear as day watching it.
I haven't seen the All 22. The angles I've seen, I have not been convinced it was a hold. So
when he breaks on the route, it's a clear grab and pull on the jersey.
Okay.
As a Cowboys Twitter guy, I'll find one for you right now. It's all over I can't stand
whether it inhibited the route is irrelevant. It was a hold. That's just how that works, right? And like generally speaking, the way I feel about it is like, yeah, it's a shitty way to end a Super Bowl, right? Like it sucks. Generally speaking, it sucks for a great game to end like that in a fairly anticlimactic way, right? Like that's kind of just how I feel about it. Like I don't, especially now having seen more of it and having like, there's not a single person, right? Like on the Eagles, like in the NFL office, in any sort of like analysts who have watched this game over and over and over again. Like the consensus is just like, yeah, it was a penalty. Like it happens. It's unfortunate that it happened in that particular spot, right? And it led to a shitty end to a football game. And like Dominique Foxworth said on Monday, that I was circling back around to the line that he said is like, it's okay to be disappointed with the end of the game without inherently having to be mad at someone, right? Like, I think the general reaction when you see something anticlimactic is to blame the person who in theory made that happen. And in this situation, the person who in theory made that happen was the ref who made that call. But in a vacuum, like it was the right call to make. And again, it sucks. Like it sucks that that's how the game had to end, right? But that play cost more than anything. That play obviously cost the fans. It cost the Eagles a chance at winning the game. It didn't cost them the game.
No,
it cost them a chance at driving down the field, and it cost us as fans an interesting ending, because the only material change that would have happened was that the Eagles would have gotten the ball with like 90 seconds left and two timeouts to drive down the field, right? Like I don't see, like I understand that like officiating in the NFL is bad, like a lot of times. I also understand that NFL refs are generally a lot fucking better at what they do than the average person watching on their couch. And they're also real people who make mistakes sometimes. Both of those things happen. In this instance, in hindsight, whether or not that's the right way to look at something that happened in real time right in front of them, in hindsight, it's not a bad decision. What is it? Is it a little ticky-tack? Like, is it a textbook hold, right? By the letter of the law, it is a hold of a jersey.
But it wasn't egregious.
Right. So like you can I guess you can quibble about whether or not it should have been called unless it was egregious in that kind of a moment. But like, I feel that's pulling straws a little bit, in my opinion. So like, I thought the game was great, and the fact that like we were cost, just generally speaking, by the circumstance. It's not anyone in particular's fault, right? Like this happens. Had this play happen 10 minutes prior, we wouldn't have batted an eye about it, right? Like it just happens, and it happened in that spot, and it sucks all the way around, I guess, in that instance. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not going to take away from the fact that the 59 prior minutes of football were about as good as football gets in today's day. Like it had that not happened, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't be talking about this game as one of like the 10 best Super Bowls ever. Like it was genuinely fantastic.
Yeah.
For 59 minutes, right? And then it kind of just ended with a fart, you know? And like I said, it sucks, but it's just kind of how it happens, you know?
The conversation we had on radio basically all week was it's the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. So like you said, letter of the law, and I just looked at the screenshot of the all 22 footage. Yeah, that's a hold. Like that's, like I said, I had not been convinced it was a hold until right now. That's clearly a hold. But it's what we kept comparing it to is the final minute of an NBA game, specifically counting down, like as the clock is winding down. You have to get absolutely fucking mugged for a foul call at the end of an NBA game. You have to elbow to the face. You're on the ground bleeding. They'll call the foul.
LeBron got stabbed 2 weeks ago, and he didn't get a foul.
Oh.
Like that one,
he did. That was an absurd no call. By the way,
that was a bad no call. It was ridiculous. Even as a Celtics fan, I was watching that and I was like, "That's a foul, man." Like,
I saw the hubbub and then I looked up at my TV because I wasn't watching the game, and I was like, "Damn."
But even that, they're like, "Nah, you make the shot." You know, it's like, you know, you got to get really mugged at the end of an NBA game, and I personally think that's a better way to go about it. Like, you know, end of the game, like in terms of just watching from a fan perspective, no one likes to see a game end on free throws.
Right.
You know, no one.
I think that's the selfish nature, like generally speaking, like it's a selfish impulse to be like, I want the thing to be more entertaining. But just like, and that's something we all feel.
Yeah. And that's something we all feel because that's what it is.
If the last 2 minutes of an NBA game were officiated like the first fucking 46, it would be unwatchable.
Yeah.
People wouldn't even try to score. They would just try and draw a foul because they know they can.
And the fact of the matter, it was a very light game in terms of penalties. There were 9 total penalties. Yeah. The Eagles had 6. The Chiefs had 3. And they were all like, you know, a false start here, offsides there. You know, it wasn't like anything big. And then like the biggest play of the game is a penalty. And call it, you know, selfish, call it whatever you want. We see in sports that a lot of times stuff like that doesn't get called in that moment because the moment is bigger than the call. And like you said, just being an Eagles fan, if I was as big of a Cowboys fan as Josh is, I would be pissed about how that game ended. Being on the side that I'm on, I was throwing shit in my living room. I was furious. I didn't watch the last like minute of the game. I went upstairs to my room and sat in silence and downed about 6 beers in 25 minutes. It was just, and it's been talked to death. And yeah, it's a hold, but I still don't think you call it there.
Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, I just don't think you call it there.
Simple, very easy take.
Yeah,
I personally tend to side on the letter of the law side rather than the spirit of the law side. To be fair, that's just me, and that's a completely unsurprising take coming out of my mouth. Like that should not shock you whatsoever.
It doesn't shock me in the slightest.
That's how I feel about it. I get it. It's just like I don't think and maybe it's part of me as being a big combat sports fan, because there's a phenomenon in MMA in particular in which saw it most recently with the Jessica Andrade Lauren Murphy fight from February or from January's pay-per-view, where Lauren Murphy got dummied for 15 minutes, right? I believe Jessica Andrade set the record for most significant strikes in a 15-minute fight or something like that. Turned her face to hamburger meat. Generally speaking, there were multiple stages across the back half of that fight where it should have been stopped, either from Lauren Murphy's corner or from the referee. The fight went to a decision. It shouldn't have. Like, it should have stopped 7 minutes prior. But, and it's the reason Mario Yamasaki is not reffing anymore, in particular, because certain referees tend to see that kind of thing and they say, oh, I'm going to let the fighter go out on their shield. You know, this is a big moment or something like that, right? Like, it happens a lot in title fights too, where like people will get injured or they'll get like destroyed, and they'll be like, oh, we got to let him go out there. You know, this is the title fight. This is his opportunity. And like, that's not your job as a referee in MMA. I know this is a tangent, but your job as a referee in MMA is to watch the action and protect the fighter's fucking health. not disregard it because it's a title fight. You know what I mean?
And that's fair, but it's also entirely different. That's legitimately life and death.
Yeah, I know. I recognize that was an entire tangent.
Yeah.
But I feel like personally as a fan of both, it might just inform the way I feel about it.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Austin, do you care to tell me why your name is Denver Overs Thinner Air?
Because Denver basketball's playing tonight, and I'm on the over because the air's thinner.
Is the air thinner inside the controlled arena?
That's what I'd like to believe.
The answer is yes. I mean, back to the MMA thing, fighters routinely struggle at high elevation, but that's beside the point.
There you go.
So, there you go. Boom.
The NFL's a sham. Don't watch the NFL anymore. That was a good call at the end. It just made the game really boring. And it doesn't really matter. None of that Super Bowl mattered because they played on the worst surface that any football game has ever seen.
Yeah, let's talk about that field, by the way.
Honestly, my take is that it just ruined the entire game. It was a completely different game than how it should have been played. Props to the Chiefs partially for being able to play a completely different offense than they played the whole season. They didn't run a lot of jet sweeps. They didn't get a lot of people in space. They didn't run a lot of, fast-paced fly route, like people running fast because you couldn't. And they were able to just tee up zone when they needed to, scramble when they needed to, but like it's terrible. It was
for all of the talk the NFL did in the days leading up to like how they spent 2 years on the field. And they had been working on this forever, and they have that one motherfucker
investment.
Yeah, they have that one motherfucker that they shovel out that he's worked on every field of every Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's the Sodfather. It's his last year doing it, and he's a Chiefs fan. Okay, it was all a scam.
That is legitimately like the most annoying, the worst part about the game, because that is, under all circumstances, an abject failure on the NFL's part. Like not like, oh, terrible happenstance. Like we can complain. It's fun to make jokes about like, oh, MetLife has bad fields, or like, oh, the Commanders field sucks. This is the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This is not something you mess up. This is not something you waste $1 million on just to have a terrible playing surface. Not only does it make for a worse product, and as the selfish nature of a fan, I want the product to be as exciting as humanly possible. That kept it from being that. It's also wildly unsafe for players to be playing on like that. I know there's nothing you can do after you start the game. I understand that. But like every single precaution known to humankind needs to be taken to make sure that this does not happen again. They shouldn't have entire groups of players from both teams having to change their cleats every fucking quarter because they're waterlogged and they can't run on the stupid painted field that you guys have worked for the last 2 years on. We shouldn't have to have crews run in and repaint the field and like dig up holes and trenches that the cleats made in the middle of the game. These aren't things that should be happening on any football field, let alone in the biggest game, the biggest sporting event of the year.
Well, do you know where they hired most of the grounds crew from?
No.
TPC
Kansas City.
Scottsdale. No, they hired a golf grounds crew to make a football field.
Oh,
it's entirely different.
That's a terrible
like,
idea.
I'm not a grass expert, but I can tell you that as someone who's been on, natural grass football fields and many a golf courses, it's two different types of grass. Like golf course grass is naturally like a lot of times a little bit more slippery because the ball needs to roll on it.
I mean, I'm not a propaganda guy. I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but if this isn't big turf conspiracy by the NFL,
big turf. I thought about that while
everybody was so anti-turf the whole season, so they just put the shittiest display of grass they could possibly put out there just so everyone would be back in. Oh, well, it's got to be turf now. It's doomed.
So stupid. So stupid. Super Bowl sucked. I don't care. It's bad.
That was the Super Bowl.
Also, good riddance, Jonathan Gannon. Have fun in that dumpster fire that is Arizona. Have fun in that absolute dumpster fire. Rip Bozo.
If only they would have hired the actual good coordinator from those two teams who never gets an opportunity.
Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy, who's currently interviewing to be the Commanders' offensive coordinator.
I'm convinced that guy tells people to fuck off in interviews.
He's got to be the worst interviewer.
He's had like 10 trillion interviews, and he comes out as not a lead candidate ever.
Also, rather extensive criminal history.
Well, since when?
True. Since when is that bothered the NFL?
Well, one that. Two, the most recent one's been 20 years ago. Who gives a crap?
Well, I agree. But I guess from what I've heard, just not a great interview, or he does just tell them to fuck off. Maybe that's what they mean by not a great interview. He just sits in there and goes, "No, I won't do it."
Because I beat a girl? Oh, you're not going to give me the job.
Oh,
there's that, and there's a DUI, I think.
Car wreck. I like to get drunk.
A few things.
I have a couple of drinks.
I can't.
I'm a bad guy.
Every team that plays Arizona this year's got to be psyched, bro. I mean, he's just going to drop back into zone and let you do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
The only two games the Eagles actually played a good team, the Cowboys and the Chiefs, he just sat back in his zone and gave up. Got shredded. Didn't care. Just said, offense will figure it out.
That team getting 0 sacks in a game is also fucking wild.
Oh, well, they legitimately couldn't play. That was terrible. Having speed rushers, we don't got freaking guys who push people in. We have Sweat and Reddick who just are speed rushers at heart, slipping on every other play. Mm-hmm. It's just terrible. Yeah. It's awful to watch.
All right. So that was our Super Bowl conversation. And we will now transition into the World Baseball Classic, a time of fun and baseball for all around the world. Now, Mark, if you would, I actually have some pretty detailed roster things to look at. If I see this article that you're posting, MLB.com preview article as well. It's a good article. You should read it. Also, if you want, some ancillary homework, listen to the episode of Baseball Barbacast, the podcast by the Cespedes Family Barbecue guys. They just did one last week about, or maybe earlier this week, about the rosters, and a lot of in-depth talk about the players on them. Far more in-depth about players like prospects and players in other countries that you should be paying attention to that I could even offer, because they're smart and they're also fucking lunatics who watch the KBO all the time. But anyways, let's talk about these rosters. We're going to go pool by pool, team by team here, and kind of point out some of the interesting things from each team. Now, first, we'll start in Pool A. We're looking here at Team Chinese Taipei, a team that admittedly I don't know too much about. I don't really know much about any of their players. I don't really know much about anything about Chinese Taipei. Partially, you can blame that on the Chinese government, but we won't get into politics today. They do have a couple of prospects here. Kaiwei Tang, a prospect with the Giants. We have Cheng Sung Che who is in the Pirates organization, and then Yu Chang, who is an infielder for the Red Sox as well, suiting up for Team Chinese Taipei. But now we got to get into some of the meat. One of the most interesting teams in the World Baseball Classic this year is going to be Team Cuba, and that's not particularly because they're like loaded with talent or anything, right? Like they're good. They have good players on them for sure. But the interesting part about it is actually the politics behind it and the fact that Cuban players weren't really able to play for the Cuban national team for a long time because they would have defected from the nation and played elsewhere. Think namely Jose Abreu, right? Like Jose Abreu, arguably one of the best Cuban-born baseball players ever. Didn't get and played during the 2010s. Didn't get to represent his country in the World Baseball Classic for that exact reason. So we have some Cuban players suiting up for Team Cuba. Namely, I believe, yes, Yohan Moncada and Luis Robert are both playing for Team Cuba. And
Yoenis Cespedes lives.
That was the big one. Yoenis Cespedes lives. We haven't seen Yoenis Cespedes play in fucking forever. But he played, I believe, in the Dominican Winter League. Had some fun there, and he's going to be here bopping some bops here in the World Baseball Classic. So shout out to 37-year-old Yoenis Cespedes for representing his home country and playing for Team Cuba.
Interesting, just a couple interesting pitchers too. I saw Roenis Elias used to pitch for the Seattle Mariners. Ronald Bolaños, I've heard of him as a prospect. It says with the Royals there. So I've heard of him in the past as well. So there's going to be talent on this team we've never heard of because it's so hard to find out about Cuban talent unless they're an absolute superstar and sign a mega deal like your, Puigs or Abreu or Moncada, Cespedes. Like, unless you're one of those guys, it's hard to find out about Cuban talent. So there's going to be a lot of talent on this team. I think, maybe a little sleeper pick to win some games in the Classic.
Yeah. Next up is one of our favorite squads here because it is just interesting. Managed by Mike Piazza, Team Italy. Now, they must have not cared that Mike Piazza has recently tanked whatever third table Italian soccer team that he's been coaching.
That was
or something like that.
He owned a team and ran it into the ground.
They don't give a shit.
Really bad.
They don't care. You know why? Because Mike Piazza is a fucking Guido, and they're gonna be like, I'm Mike Piazza. Time to play the baseball.
That last one I see on the screen right there. Is that the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey?
We'll come back to the Dark Knight because I actually have a point to make about this. In that there are actually some pretty good vibes on this team.
How many fucking pitchers do they have?
A lot. They have
every World Baseball.
They have quite a bit of major minor league talent.
Cuba
Matt Festa, Andre
pitchers,
Palante. We have Brett Sullivan, catcher for the Padres. David Fletcher and his brother.
My guy, David Fletcher.
I don't remember his brother's name. He's on this roster somewhere. Dominic Fletcher.
Fletcher, yeah.
David and Dominic Fletcher. Vinny Pasquantino, one of the best young hitters in baseball with the Royals. Nicky Lopez as well. There's a lot of good vibes on this team.
A lot of Kansas City Royals on this team.
If you thought the vibes were good, introduce Matt Harvey. to a roster that in theory was supposed to have good vibes.
He's going to be giving them all Coke.
Then they bring in a coked out weirdo who who accidentally got one of his teammates killed in 2019. So yeah, Matt Harvey. I didn't even know he was eligible to play for Team Italy.
Unless his mother's grandmother was born there.
Yeah, a lot of BS Italians on that team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. We'll just wait until we get to another team that's just Americans.
Is it Team Israel?
Shush, all right? It might be Team Israel. All right, Jewish next up Americans. In Team A is in Pool A is the Netherlands, which by the way, Andrew Jones on the coaching staff.
Burt Blyleven, Hall of Famer.
Shout out.
Hensley Mullins, a very popular.
So
Curacao.
Here's the thing. Yeah. So Curacao being a territory of the Netherlands, former colony.
Same with Aruba.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Curacao and Aruba, players from there are able to play for the Netherlands, meaning we will have players like Kenley Jansen representing the Netherlands.
Jair Jurgen, still the ace of the Team Netherlands staff. He's been on every Netherlands World Baseball Classic roster, I think.
We have Kenley Jansen, Xander Bogaerts, Chadwick Tromp, Richie Palacios, Jonathan Scope as well.
Didi.
Didi.
And Drelton Simmons.
Didi, if I remember correctly, is actually from the Netherlands.
No, he's from Curacao as well, I think.
In the show, he's listed as Netherlands.
Oh, is he? Oh.
Yeah.
Sir Didi Gregorius, mind you. He has been knighted in the Netherlands.
He is from the Netherlands.
Huh.
So yeah,
Vladimir Ballantine.
Interesting team. Vladimir Ballantine, old ass.
Mexican League home run champion Vladimir Ballantine. I believe
Vladimir Ballantine owns the record for the most home runs in NPB history.
Yeah, it is Japan. Okay, yeah. Broke Sadaharu O's record. In Japan.
Fun fact: he hit 60 home runs in a season in Japan one time.
Yeah. Roger Bernardina, former Washington National.
Man. Team Jurickson Profar, the best free agent still remaining. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know how he's not signed with the team yet.
I don't either.
Team Netherlands. Am I right? Jonathan Scope's brother as well.
Yeah, Jurickson Profar's brother.
Ray Patrick Diddler.
Yeah, Ray Patrick. I wish
sorry. Is that just Ditter? My bad.
Ditter.
All right, next up, Team Panama. Not really a team I'm all too familiar with. I mean, they have some major leaguers. Yeah, we have Javi Guerra. We have Jaime Barria. We have Paulo Espino. Let's see. We've got Justin Lawrence. Shout out. Humberto Mejia as well. That's the name. I'm just naming players I've heard of. We've got, like I said, we've got a couple of players, couple of catchers here, Bethencourt and Herrera. But otherwise, Team Panama, arguably, honestly, the least, possibly the worst Latin American team represented in the World Baseball Classic.
Ruben Tejada, the guy whose leg got snapped in half by Chase Utley in the playoffs.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah,
playing with Long Island Ducks, apparently.
Yeah, playing independent ball now because Chase Utley ruined his career.
Yeah. That's Team Panama. We'll move on here. Pool B, taking place in Tokyo. We're going to start with one of the favorites to win the World Baseball Classic, and that is Team Japan. Team Japan is an absolute powerhouse, generally speaking, obviously pulling the best players from NPB and the best Japanese players from Major League Baseball, including one Shohei Ohtani happens to play for this team. So it'll be Ohtani, Yu Darvish, other Japanese players. I believe the only other major leaguers are Seiya Suzuki, Masataka Yoshida, and Lars Nootbaar.
Which is so funny.
Lars Nootbaar, outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, who is Japanese American, going over there and playing for Team Japan.
Guy to look out for if you scroll up a little bit. So
I know exactly who you're pointing to. Yes.
Roki Sasaki. He's the guy who threw like 23 consecutive perfect innings in Japan last year. Yeah. This guy's an absolute stud. 21 years old, throws 100. Breaking stuff is ridiculous. I actually watched one of his starts last year. I stayed up until like 4 a.m. to watch this guy pitch. he is an absolute monster. When he gets posted to come to the States, he is going to get so much money.
Yeah. He's unbelievably talented.
Yeah.
Definitely like the name to watch in terms of like.
Yeah. Hiroya Miyagi is also very good. Another young
in terms
pitcher.
of like Asian imports that could be on display in the World Baseball Classic. He's obviously arguably the most high profile one. And certainly one of, if not the best.
I can't believe
Munetaka Murakami as well is another is a big bopper out of Japan.
I can't believe a guy with the name Lars Nootbaar can play for Team Japan. That's so funny. That's baseball. Team Sweden. Like
next up, Team South Korea. Again, most players here from the KBO. We have a couple of major leaguers, Ha-Seong Kim and Tommy Edman, who again
also very funny.
Another member of the St. Louis Cardinals who is Korean American. And it makes me think about some fun things with this team, like Tommy Edman and Lars Nootbaar, right? Like, do they speak Japanese? Do they speak Korean?
Tommy Edman did speak a very little amount. I heard an interview with him on MLB Network. He was starting to learn a lot more, getting prepared to play on this team. Also, Edman and Lars Nootbaar, respectively, the first American-born players for Team Korea and Team Japan.
Good
How
for
do they
them.
even qualify for that?
Because
one of their parents is Japanese and or Korean.
Yeah. You don't have to have citizenship to be on to play for
that's
teams.
fair.
Yeah. It's heritage based. So yeah. Team Korea, again, this is a team where even if you don't really know the names, they are going to be talented. The KBO is one of the best leagues in the world. So Korea is going to be a team, of course, to watch out for.
They have a Ha-Seong Kim and a Hai-Seong Kim. That's not going to get confusing. And they both play infield.
Next up is going to be one of the more interesting teams here, and that is Australia. We've got a couple of players here that are worth watching in terms of actual prospects. Blake Townsend, in particular, a pitcher with the Mariners, is going to be one to look out for. And then there's another name that I'm forgetting here. Daryl George, not a prospect, not coming over to play in America, but Australian legend.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Daryl George. And there was one more guy. It might have been
Babe Ruth of Australia. Is it Alex Hall? Yeah, Alex Hall, the catcher for the Brewers. He's a halfway decent prospect.
Yeah, I believe it was him. I can't remember. There was another name that I was looking for. I like the fact that Australia has plenty of players who are old. Like all of their aces,
Chris
their pitchers,
Oxford, 45.
Their pitchers are all just old dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is, if I remember correctly, these are like their top 3 starters. Looking here, Chris Oxspring.
I think Oxspring is, yeah.
Yeah. Like Chris Oxspring is going to be the ace for this team. And he's 45 years old. Like, that's very funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm in on that. So yeah, that's team Australia. Team China, I'll keep it a buck. I don't have much to say about Team China. I don't really know many of the players on there. Team China, again, probably one of the weaker teams in the tournament. Not too big of a producer of major league talent. Happy they're here, of course. And then we have arguably the biggest story of the qualifying round, and that's Team Czech Republic, who made
one more that I think is really interesting.
In terms of like qualifying teams?
Yeah.
We have Team Czech Republic here, who, again, not going to be many players that you've heard of, but definitely a team to be watching because they be making some fun. And they
Eric Sogard.
Yeah, Eric Sogard is the one. Eric Sogard, if I remember correctly. Oh shit.
Eric Sogard was second baseman for the A's that wore the glasses. They used to have the nerd power
signs.
Oh, yeah,
no. I almost said that he was the guy who batted cleanup for the Angels on opening day last year, but I don't think that was him.
No, that was Matt Duffy.
That was Matt Duffy, right? Right. Yeah.
Very similar style players, zero power whatsoever.
Yeah, Eric Sogard. Shout out to him playing Team Czech Republic. Still out here swinging the bat, and I love with the WBC, like the fact that like so much of it is there's just like such a big disparity between like some of these players, right? You fast forward to a couple of these players in Pool C, right? Like there are some college players who are playing in Pool C, and like they just have to go. They're going to play. There's like I forgot. There's one pitcher for I think Great Britain or something like that who's plays like D3 ball, right? And he's going to play in the World Baseball Classic, and then like one of his first games, he's just gonna be pitching against Mike Trout.
Yep.
Yeah, like that shit is hilarious to me. I love it. It's fantastic. But yeah, shout out to Team Czech Republic. Now let's move on to Pool C. Team USA. There's a lot that can be said about this team, right? We know the players. We love the players. And Team USA is awesome to me because of just how many, like specifically in position players, right? Just how many
stars,
like, great American players, superstars are going to be playing. We have Mike Trout. We have, in terms of like star, really well-known players, right? We have Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Trey Turner, Tim Anderson, Pete Alonso, Will Smith, JT Realmuto, right?
Mookie
like you have Mookie Betts. You have Bryce Harper was going to play and he got injured. You have Hall of Famers. You have Adam Wainwright. You have Clayton Kershaw pitching for this team, right? Like you have stars up and down the board, and obviously there's not something like cool and exciting we can say. Everybody knows these players. They're some of the best and some of the most well-known baseball players on planet Earth. But it's really cool that we're getting to the point where like Major League Baseball is taking the World Baseball Classic seriously, and teams are allowing players to play for their respective countries, and in Team USA in particular, more American players are interested in foregoing spring training for the most part for a good part of it, right? Like they'll be there for a couple weeks, but then they got to go, right? Foregoing a lot of spring training to go play in the World Baseball Classic instead. That's awesome for Team USA.
Yep, big fan.
Yeah. Next up, Team Mexico. Certainly some players we've heard of before: Luis Sessa, Giovanni Gallegos. Their pitching staff is okay, generally speaking. Patrick Sandoval, Julio Urias. Their bullpen is really where it scares me. Of course, they have a pretty good rotation.
Oliver Perez, hey, that guy. It says he's 41. I'm convinced he's 72.
I think he's 95 years old.
Yeah.
Jose Urquidy, Taiwan Walker, like they got really good. They have a pretty good rotation, right? You're gonna the maximum amount of games you can play in the World Baseball Classic is 7. So generally speaking, most of these starters are only going to be pitching once. So you really, in terms of you want to have a little bit more depth rather than top heaviness in the World Baseball Classic, but you can't front on having good players, right? And they certainly have good players. Another one for Team Mexico that's fun to me, Austin Barnes, to Dodgers catcher. Had no idea he was Mexican American until that. Alejandro Kirk as well, really the headliner of the lineup here for Team Mexico, and Joey Meneses as well.
Rochester Red
Wings, and Washington Nationals legend Joey Meneses. What did the Frank Schwindel bit, but even better, where he was like a top 10 hitter in baseball from the All-Star break on last year.
It was awesome. 30-year-old rookie. It was fantastic.
It was awesome, and I'm very upset that I won't be able to see him play in Rochester this season. Yeah. But anyways, we got some good young players, Jaron Duran, Randy Rosarena as well, Alec Thomas, one of the best young players, like super young players, former prospects in baseball. It's going to be cool to see the occasional prospect show up here. It's not something that we would really see that often. So when they do, and I know Alec Thomas isn't technically a prospect anymore. He's played beyond that eligibility. But still, young player, young up and coming player. I can't get this bracelet back on. It's exciting. It's exciting to watch. Yeah. I'm gonna leave this here so I don't derail the show. But anyways, Team Mexico. Yeah. Next up, Team Colombia. couple players here and there, really. Nabil Chrismat, shout out, reliever for the Padres.
Yeah.
I only know that because he blew some saves last year. That's basically all I know about him.
Jose Quintana.
Yeah, Jose Quintana, River San Martin is a pretty interesting pitcher with the Reds.
Hey.
We have, again, a couple players you may have heard of. Elias Diaz.
Julio Teheran, former, started like 4 straight opening days for the Braves when he was young.
Yeah, shout out. Where is, I don't know if he's actually from Colombia, but this seems like a real fit for Anibal Sanchez. Where is he at? Where is he from?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know where he's from.
Donovan Solano. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, Donovan Solano hit 330 for the Giants randomly a couple of years ago. It was just very strange.
He's a red leg last year.
Yeah. Gio Urshela.
Anibal Sanchez is from Venezuela, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Just putting that out there. But yeah, interesting team. Like they got players for sure. Like you said, Gio Urshela, Donovan Solano, Oscar Mercado as well. Harold Ramirez, who's established himself as a good contact hitter. In
Solid
baseball.
player.
So, yeah,
Tito
Team
Polo.
Colombia.
What a great
Cool.
name.
Yeah, cool. Good for Team Colombia. Next up, Team Canada. Again, a couple of really cool young players on this team. Matt Brash, in particular, being like the most high profile of the younger players on this team. But you also have some established veterans as well: Nick Pivetta, Cal Quantrill, Bo Naylor, and most importantly, Freddie Freeman, who both of his parents are Canadian. He was born in the United States, but he decides that he will be playing in Team Canada. You know, he could duke it out with Paul Goldschmidt, but he figured, fuck it, we're just gonna go play for Canada, vibe out, right? So shout out to him. And another one, a player in particular to watch out for, is going to be Edward Julien, who had a fantastic showing in the Arizona Fall League this year, and is one of the highest rising prospects in baseball in terms of where he would have been last year, in context of where he is this year. So be on the lookout for Edward Julien. Should not, and I probably won't break camp with the Twins. They've got a bit of logjam in their infield to figure out. But at some point, we'll definitely be up with the Twins this year.
I can't believe you scrolled right back. There's always one comeback story in the World Baseball Classic.
Okay.
There's always one guy who hasn't pitched in the majors in a couple of years, and he says, "This is how I get back in the bigs." All the way at the top, John Axford, former closer for the Milwaukee Brewers, 39 years old, thinks this is his ticket to get back on a big league roster.
I'm sorry, this is the team where like all of their starters are old as shit. Like Scott Mathiasen is old as shit. Adam Lowen, a bunch of dudes who had like a cup of coffee in the majors.
I remember Andrew Albers, like
they aren't playing pro ball anymore. Felipe Almont, like those are their top 5 starters. Is Albers, Almont, Axford,
Axford's a closer. Albers is also a reliever.
Sorry, my apologies. But like, there are just a bunch of dudes who they're not even playing pro ball anymore. You can see that here on the page. It is empty. And they're just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's go play in the World Baseball Classic. Why not? Right? That sounds fun. Let's do it. So shout out to Team Canada. Next up, Team Great Britain.
This is my favorite story because who the hell would expect Great Britain to make a baseball tournament?
They should allow them to play.
Team Great Britain got a bunch of players in the minors. Not really many or any that I'm particularly familiar with.
Michael Roth, son of the Rothschilds.
Harry Ford is really the big one here. Catcher prospect with the Mariners. One of the best catching prospects in baseball. Someone you should definitely be working out for. Shout out to Lucius Fox as well, Rochester legend.
Named after a Batman character.
Also, Trace Thompson, Klay Thompson's brother.
Yep.
Playing for Team Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic. Team Great Britain is such an interesting story, and I'm excited to see it. I'm surprised Brendan Donovan doesn't play for this team. He's British. All right, let's move on to Pool D. And Josh, you mentioned that you were surprised that Italy had so many Italian Americans on it. What if I told you that Team Israel has like 2 players from Israel on it?
I'm excited to see Kevin.
It's players from Israel, and
Kevin
then
Euclid.
the Jewish guys, because any Jewish player in Major League Baseball is eligible.
Can we
to play
guess the
for,
Jewish guys? Like Daniel Fetterman.
I'll give you a hint. The Americans, they're all Jewish.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Also this coaching staff. Ian Kinsler is the manager. On the is the hitting coach. Brad Ausmus, who was just in talks to be the GM of the Houston Astros, going to be part of the coaching staff for Israel. Josh Zeed, former relief pitcher. Tiger Peterson, who I believe is related to Jock Peterson, because Jock Peterson is playing on this team, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yes, he is.
Just really interesting coaching staff as well for the Israelites.
I think there's a typo there. Is that Jake Kalish? I thought it was Jake Kanish. All right. I'm out now. I'm done.
So as you see, we got plenty of players here who are either in the majors or in minor league systems. Dean Kremer is one in particular. Was watching a picture with the Orioles. We got a couple older fellows. Robert Stock.
Oh yeah!
Shout out to Robert Stock. We've got Adam Kolarek as well.
Former Marlin Adam Kolarek, if I remember.
Shout out to Adam Kolarek. But you look towards the lineup, you got some interesting faces.
Ryan Lavarnway still exists. That guy was the backup catcher for the Sox for like 7 years.
He was actually on the most recent episode of the Baseball Barbercast. They talked to him for like half an hour about the new rule changes. So shout out to Ryan Lavarnway, Garrett Stubbs as well. JT Realmuto's backup, known Jew apparently.
Ty Kelly, New York Met legend.
Yeah, Ty Kelly, Matt Mervis, another one of the most interesting players to watch. Likely going to break camp with the Cubs this year. And again, he's one of those players that. Valencia.
Oh my God.
Matt Mervis is a player who is a first baseman prospect for the Cubs. Wasn't really on anybody's radar. And then again, hit absolute nuclear missiles over the course of his season last year in the minors, and then carried it into the Arizona Fall League this year to the point where he skyrocketed really up everyone's collective prospect conscious. So be on the lookout for Matt Mervis. Is a player who could definitely be hitting the ground running this year right out of camp, and also Jewish apparently. So shout out to him. Jock Peterson, Alex Dickerson as well. Team Israel's got a fine squad, and they got to compete in arguably the toughest group in the World Baseball Classic, because Group D takes place in Miami, Florida. In South Florida, you know what's down in South Florida? Latin Americans and Jewish people. So that's why we have Israel going up against the Latin American powerhouses. We'll start with Nicaragua. They're an all right team, right? We've got players that you've definitely heard of before. Johnny Lasagna, one of the best Nicaraguan players in the world. Erasmo Ramirez. Shout out to him. Mark, tell me if any other names here stick out to you.
Chesler Cuthbert. I remember him. He played for the Braves, I want to say. Sort of utility infielder kind of guy. And that's it. Yeah.
So Nicaragua, in terms of the other 4 teams, Nicaragua really is arguably the worst team in this pool. Part of that is happenstance because they play in a really talented pool. Part of it is because Nicaragua is not really much of a high producer of major league talent. So we move on. Team Puerto Rico. One thing of note, first of all, managed by Yadier Molina.
Juan Gonzalez is on the coaching staff.
Yeah, also on the coaching staff, Juan Gonzalez, Jose Molina. Yeah, man. Shout out,
Alex Centron
to the Team Puerto Rico coaching staff, and Team Puerto Rico roster is good. The problem with the Team Puerto Rico roster is that they also play in a pool with the Dominican Republic and Venezuela.
Yeah.
That's the real problem with it. You look up and down the Puerto Rico roster; they're talented. They have good players. Jose Barrios. They have the Diaz brothers. They have Jorge Lopez as well. You'll see names up and down. Emilio Pagan is another name. People
Derek Rodriguez, son of Pudge.
Derek Rodriguez, Marcus Stroman as well, and then really a lot of the hitters are going to be people you recognize. The catchers here: MJ Melendez, one of the most interesting young catchers in baseball. Javi Baez, Edwin Diaz, the other Edwin Diaz. Kike Hernandez, Francisco Lindor, Jose Miranda, Emmanuel Rivera, Eddie Rosario, all up and down this list. There are major league players. Unfortunately, Carlos Correa won't be participating in the World Baseball Classic, which is I was really hoping to get the Correa Baez Lindor infield. But my Francisco Lindor jersey will just have to sit tight, knowing he'll be playing shortstop for Team Puerto Rico. So shout out to these guys. I'm rooting for them all the way, of course. But it's going to be a tough hill to climb because we've got a couple other teams here to take a look at. First of which being Venezuela. Now, Venezuela, if you didn't know, fun fact, is the second highest producer of major league talent in the world behind the United States. So this is a team that is going to be really good, generally speaking. You look up and down this roster, names all over the place that you recognize. Shout out Ulis Chassin, buddy.
I was about to say the same thing. Ulis Chassin, former Colorado Rocky.
Yeah. One of the players that I highlighted in my opening day home runs research because he was one of the few pitchers to hit a home run on opening day in the last 10 years.
Yep.
It's like him, Kershaw, and then one other person, if I remember correctly.
Mad Bum.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it was Mad Bum.
But yeah, you see it right here. You're looking at it. Luis Garcia. Venezuela's big thing in terms of their pitching staff is that like they don't have any like incredible pitchers, but they got a gang of dudes who play in the majors and can give you again one good start. Like if you play a maximum of 7 games, you want adults in the room who can give you innings. Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo, Herman Marquez, Martin Perez, Eduardo Rodriguez can give you innings. Ranger Suarez is on the team. They have Luis Garcia, like I mentioned. Like they have plenty of big league talent in their pitching staff to be able to go to in these situations. And it's a pitching staff that can definitely lead them pretty far in this kind of a tournament. But you look at now if you notice something here, there's a lot of names of major league teams over on the right, and yet they don't say minors next to them. So you will probably be looking at an infield for Team Venezuela that consists of Luis Ariz at first, Jose Altuve at second, Andres Jimenez at short, and Eugenio Suarez at third base. And what that doesn't include is Miguel Cabrera, however good he may still be. It doesn't include Salvador Perez, who I didn't even mention. It doesn't include Gleyber Torres, who probably won't start for this team. It doesn't include Ronald Acuna Jr., who also plays for this team. When you look at the outfield, there's Ronald Acuna, David Peralta, and Anthony Santander, who, by the way, hit 30 home runs last year for the Orioles. Like this is a lineup that is loaded with major league talent. They're one of the favorites to win the tournament, unsurprisingly. But there is one other team that might have something to say about that. And that's going to be the big matchup here is going to be between Venezuela and the Dominican Republic, where if you look at their roster, again, shocker, it's almost, I think it's exclusively, with the exception of Robinson Cano and Gary Sanchez, every single player on the Dominican lineup or the Dominican roster is currently under contract with a Major League Baseball team. Yeah. The Dominicans pulled out all of the stops. You look at the pitching staff here. In terms of starters, it's not particularly deep or anything like that. They have a great bullpen. That's going to be the real thing behind Team Dominican Republic. They're probably going to want Sandy Alcantara to pitch twice if they want to go deep into this, and he is more than able to do so. But you look at it here, we've got a pitching staff that's full of major league arms, which is something that can be very valuable, especially in the early stages of a tournament like this. And if you turn towards the lineup, I mean, again, it's just talent up and down the board. You have old legends, Robinson Cano, Nelson Cruz, right? You have young stars, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Eloy Jimenez, Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, you're reading it up and down here. Jeremy Payne just won the World Series MVP. Ketel Marte, Manny Machado, one of the 10, 15 best players in baseball. Oh, Vlad Guerrero's son is also on this team. Wander Franco, one of the most highly touted 19-year-olds in the history of baseball, is 22 years old and on this team. Rafael Devers, another one of the best third basemen in baseball, is on this team. The Dominican Republic is absolutely stacked, just from top to bottom.
Willie Adames just hit like 25 home runs last year and might get an at bat.
Yeah, that's like the Dominican Republic is again one of the 4 or 5 teams to beat in this.
They're the betting favorite.
Are they really?
Yes, they're the betting favorite. They're like plus 220. USA is like plus 250.
Oh, I might have to put some money on. I might be putting money on. I might put money on Venezuela to win.
I'm gonna get here.
I'm talking myself into Venezuela. I love how deep their starting rotation is.
Get out of here. I don't want FanDuel Racing. What are you doing to me, FanDuel?
No. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I announced to you guys, I'm officially back, betting wise.
You did. Caesar.
I've taken my talents to Caesar's Sportsbook, and we're back. I've only placed one bet since I've been back, and I lost that bet. I just bet on the Blazers a couple nights ago.
Someone who should have stayed gone. Denver combined 55 points with 3 minutes left to go in the first half. Not great. I don't know what the line is. What's the total?
Yeah, what was the total?
144.5.
We'll see.
I don't mean
current odds via FanDuel Sportsbook. USA and Dominican Republic actually currently tied for the best odds, plus 220. Japan plus 300, Venezuela plus 1,400. So huge gap between 3 and 4. Puerto Rico and Mexico at plus 16, and then Cuba and Korea at plus 3,400.
If we're odds shopping, then I would really. I do think I'm going to put some money on Venezuela. The real holdback to Venezuela is that they don't have an easy path out of their group. Like, they play in the hardest group. They play in a group with the betting favorite. Whereas, like, Japan, the United States, like, they play in groups that are pretty easily winnable. Venezuela, even as a team as talented as they are, like, they have to play Dominican Republic. They have to play Puerto Rico. They have to play the major league talent on Team Israel, right? Like, they have like legitimate challenges up ahead. But I mean, for a line drop like that down to plus 1,400, I'm putting a little sprinkle on Team Venezuela. Easy dark horse candidate. If you're looking for something like that.
Also, we didn't mention with Team DR, Sandy Alcantara is, or not Sandy Alcantara. Christian Javier is also on the pitching staff. That guy's a stud.
Yes, Christian Javier. I completely forgot about that. My apologies. Mark, do you have any big takeaways about the World Baseball Classic this year? Any larger things you want to say before we get out of here?
Well, it's mainly just, as we were talking about with Team USA, it's nice to see the stars come out. It's nice to see, these guys want to represent their country. Olympic baseball kind of stinks. They don't let major leaguers play in it. They do let minor leaguers and like retired guys, but it's not, it's not the same. So this is the Baseball Olympics, and it's a fantastic event. And I've been a fan of it basically since it started. The first one I watched was 2007. I think they might have done one in 2004 as well, but I've been watching it since 2007, and to see this group of talent play for Team USA. Team USA's had the stars before. Captain David Wright was Captain America. You had Jeter on the team. Like, they've had stars before, but they've never had this big of a collection. I do think it's going to be interesting how that pitching staff holds up. Wainwright and Kershaw are their 1-2, and they're getting up there. And, Kershaw, the injury history in recent years, you don't want to stretch him out too far so early. So it'll be interesting to see how they use their pitching staff. The bullpen is pretty solid. You got guys like Adam Ottavino coming out of the bullpen. There was someone else coming out of the U.S. bullpen that's escaping me right now that's really good.
David Bednar.
Derek Bednar is very good.
David Bednar.
Isn't it Derek?
No, David.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there might be a Derek Bednar.
Yeah. Whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of talent on that team, and there's just there's
Daniel Bard.
Daniel Bard,
MVP finisher at the age of 37. Daniel Bard.
Ryan Presley. That's who I was thinking. It was Ryan Presley and Devin Williams. Those are the two. So there's a lot of really. There's a lot of really good arms. I don't know if there's any great arms at this stage in their career, like outside of Devin Williams and Ryan Presley. But the rest of these guys, solid arms. Kyle Freeland, let's see how he pitches outside of Colorado. And that's just sort of the thing with a guy like him. Also, shout out Kyle Higashioka and shout out the coaching staff. Ken Griffey Jr. is the hitting coach. Andy Pettit's the pitching coach. Dave Righetti, longtime Major League pitching coach, is the bullpen coach. Mark DeRosa, who has been a finalist for like 4 manager jobs over the past 2 years, finally getting a chance to manage these guys at a high level. I think he played with half of them because DeRosa played 28 years for 19 teams. And something I look forward to next year is I hope Vladimir Guerrero Jr. plays for Team Canada because he was born in Montreal, and I think that'd be freaking hilarious to see him with Team Canada.
I think Pop should run it back for one more go.
That would be insane.
You tell me he can't. You tell me he can't get an AB in.
If Vlad Sr. wanted to lace him up, they'd have to let him.
Right? Yeah. He goes, yeah, I'll come play for Canada, or for the let Pops play, or whatever. He'd probably have to do with DR still. But yeah,
that would be crazy.
Let Pops play.
That would be awesome. Josh, Austin, you guys have any big takeaways about the World Baseball Classic? Anything like that?
I'm betting on Mexico. That's my team this tournament. Every game they play, I'm betting on them.
I will probably. I think Venezuela's got a real shot to make a run too, like you, Nunez. That's a solid squad. They're good.
I think my big takeaway was there's a lot of Lees over there on that China team.
Yes.
That is true. Leave this, leave that.
A lot of players with the last name Park on the South Korean team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I want a Park
or
jersey.
Kim.
Which one am I getting?
Just no number. It just says Park.
Well, I mean, yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our World Baseball Classic preview. I'll stop sharing my screen here. And that does it for this episode of the Hot Stove Podcast. Thank you for watching. I know this is a long one. If you made it to the end, I appreciate it. Hope you found some good information. Some players you didn't know were playing for certain teams. Shout out to Lars Newbar playing for Team Japan.
I love it.
Yeah, we will be back next week with another episode of the show. In the meantime, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. It's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. Here on the YouTube channel, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if you feel like commenting, and hit the notification bell as well. We will see you next time.
Peace.